how to kill a buck on 5 acres, guys. So I've had a little bit of success with this, and I've done it a couple different ways. So when you talk about trying to build the ultimate parcel, you always talk about 3 different aspects. You talk about the food, the cover, and the water. Now let's be realistic. If you got 5 acres, and maybe you live on it, or maybe you got permission on it, or maybe you bought it, you don't have a ton of room to work with. So you really got to pick one of them and just go all out. And I would build a 5-acre parcel different than I would build a 15-acre parcel. In fact, we're going to talk about how to build a 15-acre parcel as well. You know, smaller, 12 acres, 17 acres, whatever you got. But building a 5-acre parcel, in my opinion, would be a lot different. You kind of got to pick one of those 3 things and just go all out. You know, if we're looking at food, cover, and water, water would definitely be at the bottom of my list. And here's why. I know it's a hot topic. I know a lot of guys enjoy talking about watering holes and killing bucks over watering holes. It doesn't happen that often. In reality, if we just look at the science of it, deer don't need water in the same facet that humans do. And if they did, they would die where everything freezes. If you think about it, when you and I, when we overheat, we perspire, we sweat, which means we run through more water. We gotta consume a lot more water. A deer, on the other hand, is air cooled. What happens is the hair on their hide actually stands up and they release heat that way. So they're not burning through as much liquid or water to begin with. And second of all, they get the majority of it through natural browse. We know that. That's science. That's not my opinion. And what it comes down to is if we put in these water holes, great. That's good. That's good for, I'm not telling you not to do that, but that's only going to supplement what's there. I would never expect to bring a deer from 400 acres away because you put in a watering hole. So like water is not going to be the top priority. It's what I call part of the 10%. We worry about these other big things first on a property, and then we'll add the watering hole next to the tree stand and a mock scrape. But don't expect those things to bring deer from 400 acres away or bring new bucks in ultimately, because it's not going to happen. Second, second, you know, of that trio, the food, cover, water that I want to talk about, that would be next important, but not the most important, would probably be cover. Now, I go back and forth about this one, and I almost change my mind on it sometimes, because the nice thing about cover is if we do introduce cover, let's say we do some hinge cutting, don't love doing it, or some girdling, and some burning and some things like that, there's no guarantee that your cover is going to be better than your neighbors. And that's when ultimately you have to look at what's going on in your neighborhood. And if you feel like cover is the limiting factor, okay, then cover should be number one for you. But in most scenarios, cover is not going to keep a deer coming back every single day. But here's what I do like about cover. Cover is food, it is cover, and it is water. You know, there's natural browse in there, there's food for these deer. Obviously they're browsing on it, but is it any different quality or different types of food than what your neighbor have? Probably not. But now, like I said, if your neighbor has a 10-acre field that he leaves standing, well, good luck competing with him. Maybe we do go with the cover. But given the scenario, I'm probably going to rank water third, cover second, and food first. So here's what I would do on a little 5-acre parcel, is I would honestly try and go as big as I can and create, I don't know if I can call it a destination food plot, maybe, depending on what you can do on that property, but create a food plot so that deer can at least come to it on a daily basis, or have a reason to come to your property on a daily basis. So for the most part, like, you're probably not going to be able to go bigger than an acre. So what that means to me is we need to be selective on how we plant these food plots. If I had to give somebody the perfect food plot for a 5-acre parcel, what I would do, let's call it 1 acre. I would go in there with perennials. We use a lot of stuff from Domain. We'll drop a promo code in this video so you guys can order some of that stuff too. I'm going to use a couple of their perennial blends. I'm going to use their Hot Chick, and I'm going to use their Comeback Kit. And the reason that I'm going to use Hot Chick is it has a lot of chicory in it. And chicory grows up to be a pretty large plant. And if we look at how much forage per acre we're actually getting, we're getting quite a bit. So, especially compared to some clover varieties and stuff like that. At the end of the day, we're using those two blends because they can withstand browse pressure. And I'm going to introduce those in the spring. And especially that first year, it's not going to be as lush as you want it to be. Maybe I would double the seeding rate when you frost seed initially, and maybe go in there and fill in the patches throughout the summer when you have rain coming. But if you have good enough soil, and we have a little bit of a thinner crop that first year, what I would do is I would go in there and drill in a green blend. And one of my favorite green blends right now, and we would do this in late July, early August, depending on where you're at, And we could even broadcast. Let's say you don't have a drill. We could just broadcast into this existing clover and chicory that we got from Domain with something like Bombshell. Bombshell is the name of it. Yeah, so Bombshell is one of my favorites. I've used Sugar Mama. I've used Big Sexy. I think they're all good. The reason I do like Bombshell is because of the Ethiopian cabbage in there. Puts more emphasis into growing above ground than below ground. And if we're not trying to build soil structure and build soil, because we have good soil, I'm not too worried about putting those bulbs underground to build soil. But anyway, we're going to get a lot more forage per acre. And in reality, when it's all said and done, guys, we're going to have about 2 acres of food in a 1 acre area. And we have those perennials that can withstand browse pressure. And then we have something that can bring deer to this property as it gets a little bit colder, and those clovers and things like that do become less palatable. But they will hit them into even December, assuming you don't get too much snow. And now these greens will at least be above the snow to a certain extent. And now, don't get me wrong, 95% of your pictures on this 5 acre parcel are probably going to be at midnight. But when those cold fronts roll in and November rolls in, he's got an excuse to come check your plot, maybe check your mock scrape, maybe check your watering hole, and check your food source for those does that are still in estrus. So at the end of the day, guys, if it comes down to food cover and water on a 5 acre parcel, that's how I'm building this parcel, and ultimately that's how I'm killing bucks on only a 5 acre parcel.